So did it cause any harm based out of that?
Many of them lost their money.
Okay. Yeah. So it's one type of an economic warfare, you could say, right? Yeah. So I would like to quote some more examples, right? Examples like COVID. What happened during COVID situation is that there were a lot of disinformation campaigns against vaccines, right? That it'll cause fertility issues and blah blah and everything. It meant that during that time, a lot of people wouldn't take those shots, and probably there was potential for the virus to replicate further. I don't know. I'm not a biology person, so there was a probability, right? So there were disinformation campaigns around that. And let's talk about war when it comes to war, right? So in COVID situation, it meant that there was a potential scenario that people could die because something could multiply because they didn't go ahead with the vaccines. It's just a hypothetical situation, so I don't know if it could really happen or not, but there were disinformation campaigns around the vaccine. And when that's about losing lives, and then let's move about to war situation, right? There was a fake video generated of Zelensky from Ukraine saying that he's asking all the troops to surrender. So the troop fighting at the border don't know if this is fake or not, right? And you don't know how that will impact their morale. Maybe they'll actually go surrender, right? So you don't know, right? So what impact or what result in a war it could have when you impersonate and create a disinformation campaign or spread it on social media, make it viral, that somebody who's in power who's making such claims, right? So that's one example of disinformation campaign, especially in wars. That the results of such a situation where you actually surrender can be humongous, right? We don't even know what would happen in such a situation. And it can also happen during elections, right? Against every candidate, there's a generic disinformation campaign. Then there is the other action of propaganda generation. How do you think disinformation versus propaganda, how would you classify it differently? What do you think is the differentiator between it? Any idea? Anybody?
No, propaganda based means it will be more like they have an aim or a motto.
So that aim is there in disinformation campaign also, right? They want to weaken the adversary. So that's why they're creating the disinformation campaign. So it's there in disinformation campaign also, as well as propaganda generation.
Now there is a negative impact and the other one is having a positive impact, like something for good.
No, I don't think so. It depends on what reason you're doing the disinformation campaign or propaganda generation, right? The minor difference between disinformation campaign and propaganda is disinformation campaign is always false. It's deliberately spreading false information, whereas a propaganda can be true or can be false. Right? So example, right? I mean, I'm going to give you a very basic example. So you have a friend and that friend is like 99% great, but they have that one small thing, bad habit about them, which is not good. But you amplify it so much that their entire personality now, when you relate to it, becomes only about that 1% and not the good 99%, right? So that is sentiment building and propaganda generation. It is true, yes, they have that bad quality, but you're building on it so that somebody else who's looking at this person has that negative perception of it and forget all the other good attributes about them, right? A very basic example is what happens with Bollywood or even any other movie industry before the release of a movie, right? There's everything from, okay, this person is not suitable to play the role because blah, 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 they don't follow a specific way of living, etc., right? So that is propaganda generation. And this propaganda generation, when limited to people, it can impact relationships. When it goes to, say, major industries, it impacts work and the money generated and individual careers or a group of careers, right? But when it goes beyond that, when you start propaganda in terms of, say, there is a particular state which doesn't really have which has some problems with its infrastructure. You highlight so much about it that it's the only thing that is spoken about, right? Then investments start falling for that state and a lot of companies start moving out of that state, right? So somebody else is gaining attention, somebody else is benefiting from it. So that is the internal conflict or politics or cognitive warfare between states of a given country. And if you want to talk between different countries, it would be a propaganda generation about saying something like, okay, that country is not safe, that country, don't go to that country to do business, they don't treat women well, or anything of that sort, right? So you create specific propaganda, especially during elections, saying that this person is biased, this person probably is not educated. You pick on one or two things and identify it and call that out repeatedly, and that is propaganda generation. So both disinformation campaigns and propaganda generation have existed from early 2000s. It's not new. But how does AI enable it further? If you've heard of Worm GPT, right, it helps you create such content. And forget Worm GPT, you can find so many apps out there which generally let you create content by yourself. So before, how things used to work is that there is a media house that collects facts and publishes it. So everything's coming from a very well-known source. But now with social media in the picture, they pick up some aspects of some news from somewhere, and then they modify it, edit it to suit their narrative. And if you are somebody who believes in narrative A and you go to the algorithm, it'll only show you narrative A, even if there is a narrative B. And if you believe in B, it'll only show you B and not narrative A. So you don't have visibility into that different narrative in the first place. And also there are like 100 people creating and editing and creating different narratives. So you don't know where to trust, whom to trust. So propaganda generation and disinformation campaigns become so much more easier within like 2 minutes, because there are n number of AI tools that help you edit stuff, create fake videos, and all of these things. And that's how AI enables cognitive warfare. So these are some examples, right? We've heard of Bangalore port being destroyed by the Pakistan Navy. That was one thing that really stood out. And there have been examples of somebody posting some false information on social media, and that reflected on the streets. From social media, people started coming back to the streets and fighting Hindus versus Muslims in UK, not even our own country. Excuse me. So these are, when they create cognitive warfare, it's not limited to just social media, right? It spills out of it. It spills onto roads, it spills into riots, and it affects people's health. It affects wars, it affects election campaigns, it affects movie collections, it affects your individual relationships. So cognitive warfare is one such thing. So how can we mitigate it? Any idea, anybody, I want you to talk about policy, right? What can we do to mitigate cognitive warfare? Any recommendations, any suggestions? Be creative. And how can we use AI in general? Any idea, anybody? Okay,
Ma'am, there
nobody.
should be more awareness classes.
Yes, you're right.
Like we don't much talk about this. This is not a topic that a layman does know.
You're right.
So it should come to rural areas and people should talk about it, educate.
Yeah, you're right. You're very much right? So any mitigation is a combination of a technical and a government-led policy and people, right? It's not just one thing. And people need to be educated around, yes, everything that you is forward on WhatsApp is not true. Everything that you see on Twitter, Instagram is not true. And not just in the rural areas, right? If we shared some random news to my mom, she would believe it completely, right? So everybody, especially senior citizens, need to be trained around it, is what I think. So yes, literally programs to help people identify such fake and cognitive, anything that is extremely hyper in nature, extremely one-sided in nature, is something that you have to question. You have to be able to apply your mind to anything that you see and say, is this really true? It has to come intrinsically within your behavior, within your mindset, to question this. Is this true? Am I blindly believing it, or is there any background to it, truth to it, any source to it? So that kind of a mindset resilience needs to be built into people through literally programs. But we need to help people with technical AI based solutions, meaning that we'll need to create technical products or solutions to be able to identify the source of a content, right? And say, create or deploy models which identifies fakeness in the image quality. Say, okay, Elon Musk, you've seen his original videos, and then something comes along. You analyze that video to say if this is fake, or is there some anomaly in it, his voice is not the same, or this pixelation is not the same, or his iris looks different, something of that sort, right? So you create and deploy models to identify such content, and also ensure that any content that is generated has a signature associated with, or at least a watermark, right? To say, okay, this is where it was generated from. So if you want, we can go back and check the source and clarify that is this really true, or they can be held accountable. So Microsoft has started a project called Project Origin, which is supposed to help in watermarking of content so that people know where it came from. They worked with other companies like Adobe, etc., and created something called as a coalition for content provenance and authenticity. It's called C2CA. So it's still work in progress. The framework is in place, but how exactly to implement it, I think they've still not done it, because they need to work with media houses and publishing houses and all, and they've called saying that if you're a media house or a publication, please reach out, we can work together. So that bit, watermarking and signature aspect is in progress, but they've created a framework to identify how we can identify the source of a particular content, right? So using models, AI models, and training AI and all of these things. So that's one of the technical solutions that we can have to detect and to prevent fake content that is spreading disinformation campaigns, or even true content that is probably just propaganda. We don't have to wait until Microsoft and Project Origin comes up with a complete solution, right? What individual algorithms can do, like on Instagram, you monitor your platform for anything that is so extreme and flag something like this. Say this is potentially harmful, this is potentially not true. A lot of these platforms do that, right? So you can use AI, train AI to do this better. They already did this before AI, but with AI it becomes so much more easier. So that's one of the technical ways of solving cognitive warfare. And policy regulation, yes, our press information bureau has to be stronger, our media ministry has to be stronger to say that TV channels and news channels cannot display AI generated content. If they're doing that, they have to tag that it is AI generated. They cannot pick up one war footage from a different war that, say for example, very randomly happened in Vietnam and show it as an Indian war, right? So there has to be some amount of accountability. So if a media house does not follow this, then they are held accountable. They can either be shut down, they have to pay legal fees, their reputation loss. So there has to be some legal framework around how they are handled when they do such stupid shit, right? So we need to handle cognitive warfare through technical, policy, and people aspects, and that's how we get better. The next one is technical warfare. So anybody wants to take a call on what is technical warfare? It's pretty much here, but I still want to hear from one of you. What is the technical warfare?
Basically uses AI tools to somewhat detect and counter the warfare, like bot and fake account detections and deepfake detection systems. Sometimes when the encryption does not happen properly, you can just run through the checking and detect whether it was sent by a person, which is the mediator, not the sender. That's one of the ways.
So that is a defense technology you're talking about, right? I mean, here I'm talking about offensive. So
It's like
where we are
banking.
attacking somebody. Yeah.
It's like in the banking sector, they steal our money.
Right. Yeah. So that's one example, right? So technical warfare is like, see, every critical infrastructure, every critical segment in a country has critical infrastructure associated with it, right? Technical components associated with it. So what happens if you bring that down? So that service is affected, and it in turn affects the civilian. So a lot of examples like this have been there. I will give you an example of Colonial Pipeline. I just randomly picked it. It happened in the US. So what happened was that Russian hackers got into the billing system of a gas company in the US. Gas, when I say fuel, for the cars. So there was a ransomware within the billing system of this company. So this company got scared and shut down all operations. It meant that no gas was available, no fuel was available for cars. So everything was just stranded. People were not able to move for days, and every car, bus, you name it, truck was just on the road there, right? Imagine if that happens to our troops or even regular people, right? Civilian. If a huge part of the country is affected and they just stranded there with no food, water, and in chilling situations, it would also lead to loss of life. It's an attack on our civilians. So that is a way of impacting technical infrastructure to in turn impact the lives of people. Another example was that there was another attacker who got into the systems of NHS in the UK hospital, right? It meant that they didn't know whose surgery was scheduled that day, who was supposed to come in and see the doctors, they were not able to see. So they had to just blindly cancel every appointment, every surgery, right? It meant that people who were scheduled for a chemotherapy couldn't go through. People who can urgent surgery couldn't go through. Loss of lives, yes, again. Your hospitals are critical, right, to a country's backbone. So that has been affected by just affecting one of their systems. So that is a technical warfare. It has happened with our AIMS also. They also had to cancel appointments and all of that at one point in time. It has not just happened once, it's happened a couple of times. It's also happened with our power grids. Okay, imagine if the technical systems of a power grids go down and they in turn affect the power supply of the country, a region, let's say, for n number of days you don't have power. Yes, you can't have water for no motors working, you can't work, all great, right? But no electricity, your hospitals cannot work, your oxygen machines maybe won't work. A lot of casualties, right, again for civilians. So n number of things like this. And one attack you must know is the Maersk attack, right? Maersk is a shipping company. So they help ship products from one place to the other in Europe. So what happened was they used a third-party component and all their systems were shut down, and this worm replicated from their systems to all the systems across the world. What happened? It meant that all the systems went down in the world and ships came to a standstill. They didn't know where to ship, when to ship, what to ship. So all shipping was blocked in the world, and they were just there, right? Because it was between Ukraine and Russia, and one of them did this to Maersk, and then they were just a counter damage, right? So even between two countries that are fighting in some corner of the world, decide to technically attack some component which the rest of the world uses, it impacts the rest of the world too. So that is like a technical warfare for you. And technical warfare is generally achieved through something called as a ransomware. How many of you have heard of ransomwares? All of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So you should know what a ransomware attack is and how it happens also, right? But the thing with AI is, right, it makes ransomware attacks so much more easier. So before phishing, people would draft mails and send out, and it'd be so easy to detect these phishing emails because they had spelling mistakes, their English was not great, or somehow the look and feel of it was not great. With AI, it can go and read your CEO's posts on LinkedIn, understand the tone they use, the warmth they use, words they use, and can replicate that to such great extent, more than 100% right. Even the CEO might get their own email wrong sometimes, but AI won't. So phishing emails now look very genuine. So it's so much more easier to get into the systems by creating phishing emails. And no matter what people say, phishing is still the most easiest way to get into a given organization or system. So use AI to create phishing toolkits and then get into systems. And even stolen credentials, right? I mean, you don't have to steal credentials anywhere or go on the dark web and beg for somebody, give me some stolen credentials. AI can break passwords or guess passwords at a speed much faster than what regular password cracking tools could do before, right? So the time to find a password is reduced drastically. So initial access is made so much more easier. What probably could have taken 10-15 days is now taking less than 30 minutes with AI. And once it's in the system, what happens? Yes, people are smart, they have detection technology and everything, right? But what if this is AI enabled in such a way that it polymorphs it changes itself based on the context of the system, the environment, once it detects, okay, something is tracking it, etc. Right? So it morphs itself into something else so that static detection tools that are built will not be able to identify it. And once it's there, it's easy. It doesn't have to execute payloads and manually, run through commands to identify, okay, what are the vulnerabilities. Even with AI, it just has these aspects of, okay, n number of things that I need to check. The code is much more lighter to check for, okay, where are the vulnerabilities. And once that is found out, you just move laterally in the system and take out data and encrypt it and store it, and ransomware attack is achieved. Right? So ransomware attacks for technical warfare is so much more easier with AI. So what do we do for mitigations? Any solutions, anything that you have in mind? I'm more interested in policy and people, right? How would you solve with policy and people? Yes, Jayashree, you were saying something. Anybody? Okay, in the interest of time, right? Let me tell you. Literacy programs are about teaching people not to click on phishing emails, helping them report phishing emails if it's in an organization, or even generally on Gmail, trying to understand regular personal emails also, right? Trying to understand what phishing emails look like, even if they are so true, that understand the action, right? Had I applied for a credit card, why I have this email? Did I try to reset my password? No, then why do I have this email? So pause before clicking, right? That's what we need to teach people. So literacy programs is one way. And then policy level frameworks, right? I mean, we have CERT in India, CyberSecurity Emergency Response Team. So anytime there's a ransomware attack or any kind of cyber attack, right, they help in responding, how to respond, etc. Right? So having policies and frameworks and response centers is one way how to deal with it. A lot of companies even now don't know what to do when the ransomware attack happens, right? So they probably just go give money and expect, okay, now we've given money, everything will be sorted out. That never happens. So what to do when a ransomware attack happens is something that we need to help with, and that's why response centers and frameworks are important. And frameworks even for working internationally for it, right? Okay, you have some country attacking you through a ransomware for technological warfare. So you work with some other country or individually and sanction that country, right? You have a policy, national level defense policy, that says anytime a country attacks me technologically on my critical infrastructure, I sanction that country for so and so thing. So you have a policy on how you respond. Technology attack doesn't mean that you just limit it and sit quietly, or also it doesn't mean that you go back and attack them again. You could, that's one thing to do, but there are better ways to do with it, right? You can have something off technology, you can have something online and sanction them so that the world knows what happened, right? So that's one way to deal with policy. And technical solutions is like there is the NIST cybersecurity framework, which has 5 different pillars. It's about having technological security solutions as per these 5 pillars to ensure that all of them are in place and are configured correctly and have the right policy so that an attack does not get through. So that would be your technical defense in depth solutions. A lot of companies, again, don't do this, especially the small and medium businesses. They think, okay, I have one security control, I'll be safe. I have authentication and authorization, username and password, I'll be safe. Or they say, I have a firewall, I'll be safe. It doesn't work like that. One security solution does not solve your problems. You need defense in depth. Layers of an onion, right? Like that, you have multiple layers of security, which is redundancy. You'll be like, why am I spending so much in security? But one fails, you still have the other. An example of this is bank, right? You have a security guard right in the front, but for whatever reason it's breached. You have camera that detects what's happening, and then camera does nothing. So you still go in near the locker. The locker has like some key vault and major codes to it. So that's another level of defense, right? So that is what defense in depth is like, and that's what we need for all technological systems in the country, especially if they're critical infrastructure and if they can impact civilians and civilian lives. So that is technological warfare. Let's talk about economic warfare. Any idea what is economic warfare? Anybody wants to take a go at this one? No? Okay, it's like technological warfare. Sorry, somebody is speaking. Yeah.
Attack on financial institutions.
You're right, Karthik. Yes, it's attack on financial institutions. It's attack on our stock markets, our general market and industry in general. So the attack with the aim of disrupting the nation's economy, right? When our economy is disrupted, we are focused on solving it, and that also means that we don't have enough for our military and political powers and strength, right? So that is economic warfare. So you're right. So how is it achieved? Right, there are so many ways to do it. One of them is technological warfare on financial systems itself. So you bring down financial systems, and people say, for example, if a country heavily uses UPI and it goes down and there are no other alternatives, it impacts a lot of transactions, right? But luckily we have other options, so which is good. Another example is, say there is a very popular product in our country that is built by us and we are very proud of it, and the rest of the world is using it and we're making a lot of money and we're getting a lot of goodwill for it, right? And then you have, as a country, you don't like it, our adversary country, so they create negative propaganda on it and leave negative reviews about the product under the product review, or write articles on it, or get articles published on it. So that's one of the way we impact how the revenue of something very well celebrated, very well associated with our reputation. That's one of the way of cyber warfare in terms of finance. And how would they manipulate the stock market? Right, there is something called as pump and dump stocks. So what these people do is they use AI bots to amplify the noise around some low stocks, right, which cost very less. They amplify it so much that everybody hears about it and like, oh my god, and they go buy it and the cost rises, right? And these initial buyers dump it and exit, and leaving all investors in lurch, right? So that is pump and dump stocks. They use AI bots for it. That's how you manipulate the stock market itself. That's one of the ways of it. And let's talk about, again, AI fake videos or something, right? You use Worm GPT or something, create a press release or create a fake video that says my company is not doing well. As a CEO, if you say that out in the public, on right, all your company shares are going to fall, your employees are going to be affected. It's a small company, maybe the impact is less. Imagine a really big company, right? Like Infosys, for example, they have 2 to 3 lakhs of employees. That's harmful to civilians, right? If the company goes down, company is not able to pay people, and a lot of them are laid off. The economy is impacted, and a lot of them also might take drastic steps because they might not be able to pay loans, etc. Right? And a lot of revenue that people get as a salary, they go out and spend in different aspects in their own neighborhood, in the city. It means that somebody else is earning too, right? Because of their earning power. So if one person's earning power is impacted, the cascading effect is also there, right? Like the butterfly effect. So that's how you impact the market, then impact spending power, and then impact the general GDP and per capita income of people around, and financially make the country weaker in general, right? So that is what your economic warfare looks like. And there's also very individual level of financial frauds, like you steal a CEO's credit card and blah blah blah, all of these things, right? And one major thing about it is AI powered supply chain disruptions, right? Say I want to take an example of hospital again. So you're building machines that help save people's lives and helps during operations and all, and they need important parts that come from different parts, right? Not everything is generated at one location. So what happens if you use AI to generally track and understand, analyze what is the frequency like, and you change that, you modify that by getting into a website or getting into the systems or anything of that sort, and impact it, right? So systems don't get created on time. So it means that if there's a need, there's a supply and demand gap. And if it is something like a hospital and operation machinery, it's impacting lives in general, because old and run out machines may cause harm to people. So and when it happens to a large number of people, it's again harm to civilian. So that's how you use different mediums to create economic warfare, market manipulation, financial frauds, fake videos of your CEO or CFO, and supply chain disruptions, and hacking into financial and banking systems. So what is that we can do as a mitigation? Again, open to you guys. Any one mitigation that you can think of. As young folks, you should be able to look at a problem and say, okay, this is how maybe I should be able to solve it, right? Even if it is not your topic or subject. So that's how you will go on to be startup owners in the future, right? So that's why I'm
And also
constantly
the
asking
monitoring
you.
of
Yeah.
trading patterns. No?
Right, you're right. So SEBI has something. So it is regulation of algorithmic trading. You're right. So analyze for any high pump and dump stocks. See if there is any anomaly in terms of how these stocks are sold, or if there's any news around these stocks. So that's one of the ways you can
attacks.
use. Yeah, you can use AI to detect and notify saying that this is wrong. And there's a regulation that SEBI has created around algorithmic trading, saying that the frequency can't be so much and you can't trade more than this. So it has some rules around it. So policy is one of that, and building technology to detect such algorithm trading is one of that. And also we spoke about hacking into financial systems also, right? So again, all the technical controls into financial systems is one of them. So what else did we talk about? Yeah, automated financial frauds, market monitoring. Yeah, so we have technical controls for financial systems, we have policy, and then people. Again, people need to be trained to not believe every video that is out there, and not believe that every hype about a stock. So people need to have financial literacy mandatorily outside of the regular digital hygiene, right? Digital hygiene on how to behave online is something that all of us as a country need to learn. And on top of it, we need to have financial literacy. And financial literacy not just in terms of where and how to invest, but also understanding which ones are wrong, which ones are scam. That is something that we need to learn. And obviously, the government needs to help in these literacy programs, something that each government should be responsible for it, right? I mean, there's a scope for it to happen, but it's still very minimal in my opinion. But that's something that we ought to do. So these I think we spoke about cognitive warfare, we spoke about technological warfare, and we spoke about economic and financial warfare. And the last one is psychological warfare. So how is it different from cognitive warfare? Anybody?
Like exploiting perhaps logical fallacies that we are prone to, and
Okay.
spread misinformation, disinformation.
Okay. So
Trying to influence public opinions.
okay. So that is, we said that is cognitive warfare, right? Like a group of people. So how is like a psychological warfare different?
Maybe
Like trying to weaken the enemy's confidence, like trying to push him hard on negative facts rather than positive.
Somebody else was speaking up.
maybe it includes human emotions.
Right. Yeah. So human emotions. I mean, but people do try to exploit even in disinformation and propaganda about human emotions or sentiments in general, right? But in psychological warfare, what happens is it is very individual in nature, right? It's not like a group of people generally. Examples I would say is like you've heard of digital arrests, right? All of you have heard of digital arrest. It's the new scam in the country.
Yes, ma'am. My friend gone through that.
Oh my God. Okay, that's scary. Okay, do you want to explain what happened in digital arrest to your friend?
Yeah, what happened was he was trying to join in some like typing work, okay, through online. So they will be providing around 20,000 salary, something they told, and he was joining on that time. After that, he didn't work for around 1 week or something. Okay, he didn't inform anyone or something. So after that, they have pushed him like some complaint folders, PDFs, and something like that, and they are stating that we will we will do a case on you in Gujarat. We are in Chennai, and they are telling that it is a Gujarat court. We will.
Okay.
We will file a case on you, and you have to pay around 2 lakh or 4 lakh, something like that. And he came to me, and I just found that, and it is a scam. Okay, he lost around 7,000 on that
Okay.
day.
Okay. Oh, that's bad. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much like that, right? And this digital arrest is a new trend, and sadly, it is happening with a lot of retired and senior citizens, right? So what happened, or mostly, but it's also happened with younger folks also. So they say and say that you did some
Ashwini,
crime.
can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Recently, in September, my friend, he worked in TCS. He completed BTech, and he terminated because of he not in project. After that, he wasted 3 months in home only. Last November 29, he lost 11 lakhs in Telegram.
Oh my God.
Because of
Okay.
he educated, he worked in TCS. Again, he lost a trusted in Telegram accounts and invested 11 lakhs.
Yeah, that's
he tells to no one. After he lost, and again he asked about 8 lakhs. Then he come to me and ask, help me and you take a loans from money money apps. I said no, and still in shock. I have to take care of him. After that, we go to the cybercrime offices, and they said openly, we don't have any options to recover.
Oh my God.
Please, just 1 week before.
Yeah, that's the surprising part, right? I mean, educated younger folks are falling for this, so that's really scary, right? So they identify some weakness, right? Like example, I think in the news I read it. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually they focus on housewives mostly.
Okay. Yeah.
And
so many people are being alone and want to do something. They'll focus on themselves, and they'll emotionally create some education things or something like that, like work from home, data entry jobs or something like that. Then they will get money from them and they'll do that.
Yeah. No, it happened with my friend, right?
Before we pay, they pay so much, 10,000, 15,000. They creating interest, they will get returns. This after they gone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
It happened with my friend too. She had this, somebody called her and said your Aadhaar was used for some illegal purposes. You need to pay so much money, otherwise you'll be taken to the court. So luckily, for whatever reason, she called me and she told me, I said, just ignore it. And then she didn't take it. But the same scenarios happened with so many people, right? And they put them on digital arrest money. They'll constantly keep them on the call, or they'll keep them on a video call. People even dress up as like police officers and set up like a courtroom and police station and sit on the video call with them, so that people believe that they're really police officers, right? And then they ask for money and then they give the money. So I think it happened somewhere in the north of India, and they were arrested also. I think it was in Jaipur or something. So they were arrested. I'm surprised in your case why they said that they don't take care of it. They should ideally take care of it. It's surprising they didn't do. So so moving on to the topic, right? So it's individual, but imagine if all this money, they do it to like 100 individuals and collect all that money to fund terrorism within the country, right? So it's still a cyber warfare. The intent is eventually impacting the country. And it's not limited to money. What if they do romance scams to people who are in the army, who are in positions where they handle sensitive details like RAW and all of these groups, right? So that's one way, right? Then they're giving out sensitive information to adversary countries. So it's impactful. It's cyber warfare. They might reach out on your personal Instagram account or some account and then start talking to you and blah, 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 right? So, and forget even that, they might try to persuade you for whatever reason that their ideology is the best. Can be anything, right? A, B, C, D, that we are the best, you join us. So that's another way of psychologically manipulating you to do what they want to achieve, so that they can do it to 100 other people and then create that force to weaken the country. So that is what psychological warfare is, and this is a very personal thing to every individual. So what can we do to stop this? I'll leave it to you. So tell me.
I think we have to analyze first.
Pause before react.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there is a really nice person reaching out to you of the opposite gender or whatever gender you're interested in on social media and trying to constantly be in touch with you, if you're in a high profile position, how would you react to it, right?
One more thing to say, that the manipulation is like very easy, like right now. Recently, I just got a critical bug in a website. So to just verify that information, I called a person and just said that I'm from XYZ company and all. and I'm just selling this course, and through this you can earn in crores. Basically, he was like, okay, yeah, fine, okay, understood. And he believed me like totally. He agreed with all kind of like whatever I was saying to him. He was like, okay, this thing, like this things happens in this phase and all. He was like, totally, yeah, I just agree with you. So just to verify that those things, that the information is real, I just tried to like call him to that. After that, he said that I'll just call my father and just say him that okay, these things are there. After that, I blocked his number just because I want to just verify that information. He called me back, but I didn't receive that. Like the manipulation, like to a single call, people are getting manipulated.
Super easy to manipulate people. It's that's why it's important to be aware, right? So one of the mitigations I think is talking about it more so that everybody is aware. They learn to pause and react, because not everybody has access to cyber material to learn, right? So that's one of the problems. Once you realize that okay, this is happening, you're aware, then you can probably look up. And the good thing about AI, it has also made knowledge very democratized, right? You don't have to go to a particular school or anything. You can learn things, right? So it's easy that way. So you can look up and try to understand what is that you can do to save yourselves and friends and family. And what we do is generally we learn this by ourselves, by browsing or looking up the net or asking ChatGPT, right? But we don't convey the information back to our families. How many of them go back and talk about this to our families? We don't, right? We talk about other random stuff, or we don't talk it, right? So it's important that you talk about it, you make people aware that such a thing is happening. And if you're somebody who's going to be in a very high profile or is in a high profile position, it's important to develop that emotional resilience. It is going to be lonely at a very high profile job. You have to operate in a mode that you maintain privacy by default, right? You can't, even general, right? If you look at my Instagram, I don't post anything about my personal life, right? I post 100 pictures about travel, but nothing about my personal life. And then I see other friends of mine wishing their mothers on Instagram, wishing, so your mother's name is on your bank accounts and all of that, right? You're putting all your personal details in terms of your family members, their birth date, everything, where exactly you are. So if you're a high profile person doing that, it's problematic, right? It's easier for somebody to know where you're born, when you're born, how to reach out to you, and then on top of it, if you don't know how to manage being alone or being emotionally resilient to somebody being extremely nice to you, then it's going to be a problem, right? So as a policy, we need to have counter influence frameworks. I'm sure our country does this. I'm sure we have the government training these high profile people on how to not fall for such tactics, right? But it could be extended to a little more further, is what I feel, in the financial sector, to ensure that our economy warfare doesn't happen, the cognitive aspect of warfare doesn't happen. I feel that it could be extended. And technologically, yes, we can certainly monitor content, and a lot of people talk about freedom of speech, right? Yes, we need freedom of speech on platform. We should be able to tell and talk about anything. We should be able to diss our governments or policies or regulations. Yes, we should be able to do all that, right? But the minute it is something that is affecting the country, the safety and the security of the country, every country has the inherent right to ban it, right? So that is something that we should recognize where to draw the line, even as civilians, do align to it ourselves. And if that is not happening, every government has the right to technologically monitor it and ban it, right? So that is the mitigation for technical controls and counter influence frameworks, policy, and educating of people. So these are the different ways we can mitigate it. Obviously for cyber warfare, different types of cyber warfare, how it can be achieved using AI and how it can also be solved through AI. So if I had to summarize this talk, right, cyber warfare is always there, but AI has made it easier. But not to worry, because we can use AI to even mitigate stuff, right? If attacking is easier, even defending is easier because of AI. So currently a lot of organizations don't do that. They use static detection mechanisms. They don't monitor platform, or they monitor platform using age-old technology. So if you upgrade it with AI, if you develop your own models in your country to handle this and detect this, I think we have better AI-enabled solutions. But the problem is, we are still not there. It's all work in progress. So we have to continue to work, and work in the sense that we have to share knowledge between countries and within the country, between academia, between colleges, within people working in the industry, people doing research, people doing threat intelligence. So it's a collaborative effort between countries, and then continue the work in progress, but much in a faster way. And understand that security is not just one person's accountability, right? It has to be technology, people, and policy. There has to be governance, and each person should take accountability. People can't say that there is no framework, so the problem's not me. Even if there's no framework, you take responsibility and fix it for yourself, right? Whatever you can within your own personal boundaries, right? Same goes for government. The government needs to take accountability to understand that not everybody is smart enough to identify these things. So I need to have some policies in place. The tech community needs to understand there is some gap in our country here. So we need to build some technology around here. So it's a combination of all of these things that eventually make our country great, and also eventually make us solve these problems and protect us from cyber warfare. So that's all I had with the topic. Any questions or any comments at all that you want to make?
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative section.
Yeah, I thank you for having me. I hope it was useful to all of you. So please keep in touch on LinkedIn.
Ma'am,
Reach out.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Ma'am, just like you told, it's just that AI have its own advantages and disadvantages. That is the summary, ma'am.
Yes, AI has its. I mean,
Ma'am,
no.
in fact, we can use the AI. We can use it for in a. How do I put it, ma'am?
No,
okay, ma'am.
Let me rephrase it for you, right? Okay, AI is bad and AI is good. I think any technical aspect, right, has its good, has its bad, right? Including our mobile phones, has its good, has its bad. So AI is no different, right? It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. So the summary of this, it means that whatever has been existing, AI just amplifies it, makes it much more easier, faster, and smoother to achieve, be it good or be it bad. So that's the summary of it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's all I had, guys, and keep in touch on LinkedIn if you need anything.
Ma'am, in the initial, I missed few points. I just want to know how I can connect to you in LinkedIn, like your ID or whatever.
So this is my LinkedIn, so that's why I shared it here. Ashwini Siddhi, right? So that's my LinkedIn ID. So please reach out if you have questions. I'm always happy to help. It's just that I take 2 days to reply, but I'm always happy to help.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ashwini ma'am, for delivering such
Thank
an
you, ma'am.
insightful session today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, all
Thank
of
you,
you.
ma'am.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Happy weekend. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.